What blows my mind is you had talked about sometimes, maybe even on the podcast in the past, having visuals when you're on shrooms, like you start to hallucinate a little bit. And, being someone who had never done any form of psychedelic, and especially growing up thinking, oh, psychedelics are bad for you. I mean, a lot of people still do that, but think about how many states are legalizing it now, because a lot of it probably isn't as bad as they think. Well, anyways, I didn't really know what to think of the whole visuals. I was like, maybe I don't think I'd start hallucinating. Like, what is a hallucination? What does that even fucking look like? But then, I've recently gone down the rabbit hole, Scott Wolter talking about Templars, and you get into the topic of like the Ark of the Covenant and like God, universe. And you see a lot of these geometric symbols that maybe are even reflected in crop circles and things. This last time I took mushrooms, I look up, we're watching movies, me and Bobby, on Netflix, and we're waiting for the shrooms to kick in. And should I say, these shrooms, I don't know why, but they were extra moldy. I didn't even know you should eat a shroom if it's got mold and hair growing off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't know, the dirtier the better. So we put them down. It was kind of rough getting it down, but we're waiting for it to kick in. And I noticed the colors on the screen are just kind of melting. They literally look like they're melting,
off
right?
the TV?
Off the movies we were watching.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe if it was like a Western scene and you got the desert right here, you got the blue sky right here, it kind of just looks like the colors are just melting together like watercolors,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. I guess that's technically a hallucination. I wonder what it'd look like if I looked up at the ceiling. And ceilings, a lot of them have textures on it and those little dots and stuff. I looked up at the ceiling. Within 2 seconds of looking at the ceiling, all the dots had melted together and formed, I shit you not, the fucking face from the DMT visuals. Like literally Google image DMT visual and you'll see these geometric shapes forming like a fractal of faces. I literally saw that in the ceiling. And it's like, bro, if I'm gonna hallucinate, the mushrooms are different. My brain is different. The chemicals interact differently. I'm a different person, right? You would think that it would be a random hallucination, kind of like your dreams. Not everybody has the same fucking dream, but the first time I fucking see something in the ceiling because the dots melt together in my eye, like in my visual, even think about right now, you're sober, right? What is your eyes doing? It's basically taking electrical signals for your brain to interpret and tell you this is what you're looking at, right? So you could almost argue, well, are my brains really seeing what is reality? Because I'm just taking in information and converting it into electrical signals. And somehow the mushrooms affect those electrical signals to where things start melting together. Well, I look at this ceiling, all this dots, it's like a canvas for my brain to go crazy with, right? They melt together, they form the fucking DMT faces. And that blows my mind because it's like, this has to be significant. There has to be a purpose to this, because why would I see the same thing that everybody else is kind of seeing with those faces? And then 2 seconds later, the faces, I look down, I go, wow, that's crazy. I look back up and it forms a fucking geometric like circle with a bunch of shapes in it. But I was like, I've seen this shape before, and I've been doing some research on it. And it's literally called sacred geometry. And it's geometry symbols used to represent in various different religions, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity. These sacred geometry appear throughout, like designs, church designs, city layouts, things like this. And it's because it connects them with God, the universe. But that's literally the visual I see. After I see the faces, I look down, I look back up, and it turns into a fucking sacred geometry symbol. And I'm like, yo, there has to be something to this. That's not a random chance, right? And so it makes me think maybe those really do allow you to tap into something different. Someone who's high, someone who's tweaking out, someone who's like a fucking meth head, they're not talking about geometric shapes, but I'm peeking on shrooms and I'm talking to my buddy Bobby in terms of geometry. And I'm talking about like crazy ideas, and I get a realization I need to start doing more Rubik's Cubes. Why? Because it's just geometry, I'm literally thinking about the way the universe, that's a weird drug in itself. And so that tells me that's not fucking tweaking out on meth. That's not fucking
Something
heroin.
different.
This is allowing me to tap into something,
Do you think that it's like allowing you to tap into a different dimension or something that's actually there? Or
yeah. What's crazy is like, I've never had it. It comes in waves, you know? Before, it's like it was a feeling of being high, and maybe I'm kind of getting weird thoughts and like thoughts I would have never thought before.
Yeah.
But this time, I don't know if it was the shrooms were extra dirty, you know? Maybe they were dusted with that DMT dust, or if I just took a heavy dose. I don't know. But what I do know is I was getting waves of just like literally, I would be sitting here with you, but you would see me just kind of zone out for a second. And from your perspective, I'm just zoning out. From my perspective, I looked at that window that had a couple triangles on it, and instantly my world melted, and I was in a fucking realm of just geometric shapes and colors. Like I literally felt like I was on DMT, you know? And then like 2 seconds later, I'd come back. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was in the show, either Inception or like Doctor Strange from the Marvel movies. I felt like he just fucking like made my world shatter into a bunch of shapes, you know?
Dude, that's crazy. What if you started becoming Doctor Strange? How badass would that be?
That would be insane.
You just start seeing the fucking sacred geometry on your hands. Just
yeah. Yeah. Dude, you know, like when he does the little portal and it opens up and they can go through it and it looks like a shape. That's what it looked like in the fucking ceiling.
What if that's what you needed to do in order to get into that other dimension? You just fucking needed to open that portal for yourself.
And that's what all the secret societies are like keeping hidden, and that's what they fucking do in their spare time when nobody's watching.
Bro, maybe.
Dude, I don't know. I was thinking about this last night and I feel like I'm more fired up now. And it's just verbalizing I'm literally processing it as I'm verbalizing it right now. So when I was thinking about it last night, I realized if I see the same thing as someone else, great. If there's a deeper meaning to it, great. But at the end of the day, is it really that significant if I can't do anything with it? You know what I'm saying? I see it. I look at it, it's there. My world collapses around me. Cool. But I didn't meet other beings. You know what I'm saying? Like some people talk about meeting little jesters and trolls and whatnot on DMT. You know, I didn't meet other beings. I saw a face. That was crazy. And at some point, it kind of looked like it turned into a female face too. But I didn't talk to it. It didn't seem like a moving conscious thing. It just looked like a face that was a fractal of faces that maybe like I could feel like there might have been consciousness there, but it wasn't moving. I wasn't interacting with it, you know? So at the end of the day, okay, maybe I saw that, but what does that do for me? Can I gain benefit from getting access to that realm? I don't fucking know. I'd be curious to hear other people's experiences. I want to talk to someone else who's experienced something similar, and I want to see what did they get out of it, and maybe is there a deeper benefit to this? Because if nobody's able to access that and use it in a, I guess, proactive way, kind of like Doctor Strange, he uses it for different things, then what does that really do for me? You know what I'm saying?
I'm curious if it almost like in my head, I'm just kind of connecting the dots as far as like, what if it does tap into the spiritual? And I guess all it would really do would just be like refine that intuition.
Yeah.
Because I feel like maybe that's how that dimension communicates, you know, is through intuition. I mean, that's the only explanation I kind of have for it, but
yeah. One thing I would like to try, and here's the thing, I don't want to become a guy who's like always tripping out on fucking shrooms. Like, I don't even know if that shit's good for your brain or not. I would have to look into it more and talk to some real experts on that. But one thing I do want to try, because I haven't done this yet, is taking shrooms while in nature. You know, and a lot of people talk about doing that, but what's crazy is I literally had a fucking emotional roller coaster of a trip. At times it was good, at times it was bad, but I think because I saw both extremes, it gave me a deeper feeling of gratitude when it started coming down from it.
How did you see the sunset when you were coming down or anything?
Nah. Oh, I saw the sunrise a little bit. I couldn't see the sun because there was a lot of city and trees around me, but I could see the sky.
Yeah, that's definitely nice when you could just see the sunrise. It's just like a refreshing feeing. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'd be curious to see what it's like peaking on shrooms while in that environment. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I was just sitting on a couch in my buddy's shitty home in Kansas City, Missouri. You know what I'm saying? And I had a fucking wild trip looking at his ceiling. You know what I'm saying? But what makes me real curious is what would happen if I rather than looking at dots on a wall, was looking at stars in the sky. What would that melt into?
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember one time taking acid, or 2 times. The first time was at Yosemite. That was like my second time taking. It was fucking beautiful. Like the trees were breathing, everything around me was breathing. And then we got to, I don't know which area we got, but we were just chilling and we're looking at the mountains, and it literally looked like a Picasso painting, like the Starry Night. It was just like moving, creating this beautiful fucking scenery. And then there was
Van Gogh was on shrooms.
Van Gogh, yeah,
okay,
essentially. And then I remember taking it. I forgot, at my brother's house, and then we just looked up, and like the stars were giving us a light show. They were just twinkling in a certain order. And what was weird is that every one of us was able to see the same thing. It looked like a force field, just like from the middle, it would start, and then it would pick up again. And we were seeing more stars than there actually were in the sky.
You're blowing my mind right now.
Bro, it's nice.
Yeah. Man. Well, so here's the thing. Like I said, we're surrounded at his house. If you went outside, which at some point when we were peaking, I thought to myself, I want to look at the stars right now. But there's so much city and trees, it was hard to see anything. But through the little opening in the sky in his front porch or whatever, I could see the moon and I could see a few stars around it. And I don't know. I don't think it was the shrooms. I think it was legitimately like a super fucking clear night to be looking at the stars that night, because they looked, the sky was clear, not a cloud in the sky, and the stars and the moon were so fucking bright, and it wasn't even a full moon. It was like a 3/4 moon or whatever. And being on shrooms, I will say I did note, and I don't think I was peaking. I think I was starting to come down. It was pretty early in the morning, pretty late in the morning, I guess I should say. And but it was still dark, and the moon, I could see, like, you know what, this is crazy. This is actually, I'll tell you what I was about to say, but it confirms to me that maybe I am literally able to see other parts of the spectrum that I couldn't see before, because I used to, obviously I went to dental school, right? And so to get into dental school, you have to graduate college. You have to take the entrance exam, and you're competing against everybody else in the country who took that same exam. And then you try to apply, and then you got to interview, and then you got to get accepted from the interview. So it's a whole process, and it's pretty competitive, because you're going to be a dentist. You're basically a doctor, but with less of a headache, because you own your own practice. You work on your terms. You work 3 or 4 days a week, and you probably make more than most general doctors who go to medical school. Anyways, point is, I had to take a lot of organic chemistry in college. And even after college, and while I was waiting to get into dental school, I was a substitute teacher at high schools, and I would literally teach the lessons, because the teachers trusted me to do that because of my background, to do chemistry, organic chemistry. And one of the experiments that we would do, and I remember, because this is like in high school, it's kind of more interactive than some of the college courses even. And so one of the experiments is there's like some film that you can take, and you look at light through the film, and when you look at the picture of the light source through the film, you can see what elements make up that light source because of the way it kind of reflects through this film. And so you'll see like levels of colors. And so if you think about the visual spectrum, it goes from like, there's like ultraviolet at the high end. Wait, so you got radio waves, and then you go Roy G. Biv. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the visual spectrum. So those are technically all the colors that exist that we can see. And then on that spectrum, though, you got radio waves, right, and stuff that's below the red end of the spectrum. But on this side, violet's the last color. So Roy G. Biv, violet, ultraviolet radio waves. You know what I'm saying? So UV rays are technically on the same spectrum, but your eyes can only process this small section of that spectrum. Does that make sense? So radio waves, ultraviolet waves, they're all the same.
The radio waves, like under a microscope, could you actually see them, or we're just not,
No.
our eyes can't?
Nah, it's energy, it's magnetism. It's like electromagnet. It's called the electromagnetic spectrum. So it's a combination of electricity and magnetism. Okay, so you can't see most of them. You know, we listen to the radio because of the radio waves. It's technically the same wave, right? But the only difference is on this end, it's vibrating slowly and the waves are a little bit longer. On this end, the waves are like That's why UV rays, they're more harmful to you because they're just like fucking vibrating strings just hitting you really fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it differs. And so the spectrum of what you see, the way the bars, you kind of get these bars and you see the different colors of the spectrum through this film, and the kind of like a barcode, the way that the light refracts it into this film, you can look at the barcode that you see what element makes that up. When I was on shrooms and I looked at the moon, and it hit me just now, that's why I explained that whole thing. It looked like I was looking through one of those films at the moon, because what I saw was, it looked like a holographic, like Charizard type of thing, but I saw it off both sides and then off the perpendicular right here at a right angle, and it was like a spectrum of color, but it was kind of like a reflection of it. So I saw the moon and it was super bright, but then I saw like kind of like a hologram, a yellow, red, violet, pink-ish version of it coming off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Off the moon?
Yeah. And it looked like I was looking at it through one of those pieces of film, which in the context of this conversation kind of blows my mind when I realize that, because it maybe is evidence pointing towards, maybe it does allow me to see a little bit more of that electromagnetic spectrum than my eyes usually could. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which gives more relevance to some of the geometric shapes I was seeing.